something a little different from my usual videos. I had mentioned recently that I mainly use the DigiGurdy to make sheet music writing a lot quicker, and I got some interest in the idea, so I thought I'd take you along, show you how I do it. I'll be using Waveform 12, really any DAW will do, but this one is free and I'm a cheapskate. I'll be using this program to make a MIDI file of what I want converted into sheet music. If you follow along, you'll also need a plugin to convert the MIDI signal from the DigiGurdy into sound so you can hear what you're doing. I'm using the sampler TX16WX for that, and I'll show you how I set it up. This plugin should work with any DAW, so if you are using a different program, you can skip to a chapter of the plugin to see how I set it up. I'd also recommend downloading the DigiGurdy sound font if you haven't already. Of course, you can use any sample, but this way you've got the DigiGurdy set up for playing via the computer as well, so that's nice. Then when I have a MIDI file with the song I want to make in the sheet music, I'll be using MuseScore 4. I don't know how other music notation programs work, so I can't say how well this will work for that program, but I'm sure you'll figure it out. I've got a 2-part harmony to transcribe, so let's get started. Okay, so I'm going to show you the entire setup. I have done this previously, but we are starting on a clean slate, so I can take you through all the steps. I've booted up Waveform 12, and let's start a new project. I want this project to be the framework for all my future sheet music conversions, so I'm going to call it DigiGurdy Template. When you load a default project, you'll get a bunch of tracks. I'll only be working with one for now, so I'll delete the rest. Then, if the DigiGurdy is connected to your PC, it should show up in the menu here. Select it to make that the input source for this track. Now we'll be using that plugin I mentioned. Click the plus here and go to the folder C with tick, and you should see it, TX16WX. We get this menu, and here we can assign sounds to every channel the DigiGurdy uses. You need to navigate to the folder that has the sound font in it. On the left of the menu, double click the sound font and you'll see all the different samples you can choose from. The DigiGurdy outputs in 6 channels, and we'll have to add a slot for each of them. Just right click in the open space and add them. Channel 1 is the high melody string, 2 is the low melody string, 3 is the trumpet, 4 is the drone, 5 is the trumpet buzz, and 6 is the key clack. So to assign the sounds to each channel, you simply click on a slot and then you go to the sound font menu on the right and select the one you want. When you're done, it will look something like this. Now when you play the DigiGurdy, you should hear it. When you do this yourself, you'll want to fiddle around with the volumes on each channel. Right now the drums are very loud and the melody strings not so much, but I'm not gonna bother with that for now since that's not what we're here for, so I'll just close this window. Now that I've got all of this set up, I can start playing and I can start recording, but not specifically for sheet music. But I do recommend saving it here for general use. In the lower left corner, you can expand this menu. You can go to File and then Save Edit as Template. So if you ever just want to play the DigiGurdy connected to your PC or record something that has nothing to do with sheet music, these are the settings that are like the basis of all of that. You can quickly open up a file and use these settings. So what I do is save this as a template, that way I can start a new project with these exact settings. But for sheet music, we need a couple more steps. Click the label where you selected the DigiGurdy earlier, and with the expanded menu, you'll see a keyboard and some other settings. Because we are recording for the purposes of converting to sheet music, you don't need the octave melody strings or the drones or the key clack. That's just gonna confuse the program that's gonna convert this signal into sheet music. So we are gonna click here on these channels 2 through 6. That will mute them. That way they won't be recorded when we record. And only the high melody string is left over. The high melody string is easiest to use because it will end up right smack dab in the middle of the staff once you export it. So now, when I play the DigiGurdy, I only hear the high melody string. In the same menu, a little bit to the right, you see the option Quantize. Quantize makes notes you play snap to bar lines, or it's like divisions of bar lines. I usually go for 1/32 because that way you can still get some ornamentation stuff going, but it doesn't matter that much. Just don't go too big of a gap. And then in the menu on the bottom right, you can select BPM. I like to go slow so I can get the recording as tight as possible. About 80 BPM works for me generally. And I turn the click on so I can hear the metronome. Very important. And then the final step before we can start recording is clicking the little record button on the track itself. This is very important because it won't work otherwise. And this makes it so that when you record, it will use this channel. So now that we are ready, I'm going to save this also to a template. This will be the Sheetmusic template. So now when I start a new project, I can select this template and everything is set up and ready to go. So let's quickly open up a new project and record. I just click the record button in the bottom right and I should hear the metronome. I usually use the auto crank button on the DigiGurdy when doing this, so I can focus on getting the recording as tight as I can. This will make the conversion to Sheetmusic less messy. I will also try not to play any trills or ornaments I don't want on the Sheetmusic, even though I still a lot of times do, and then I have to go back and fix it. Okay, let's get started. So that wasn't perfect, but we can fix that pretty easily. First thing I always do is I clean up the open notes at the beginning and the end. And all the places where I let go of the keys between notes, I delete all of that. Then I go through the recording once and I remove anywhere I used another key to separate two notes on the same key, and I clean up any mess ups I did. Okay, I'm happy with it like this. This song has a harmony, so I am gonna quickly record that and clean up that track as well, and then we'll finish up. Okay, I'm back. I realized I forgot to show you how I got a second track. You can simply right click on a track and then duplicate it, so it will keep all the settings you had. I give the track a different color to differentiate them and then delete the clip in the track, and then I've got a brand new track ready to record in. But anyway, now that I am happy with these recordings, it is time to export. You want to go back to File again, but this time select Export, Render to a File. Then make sure the format is in MIDI. You'll also want to select Render each track to a separate file if you are working with harmonies, because MuseScore will put the different tracks on the same staff, and that will get really messy if they're like different voices. And most importantly, make sure pass-through plugins is off. The sampler we use converts MIDI signal into sound, so if you have the setting on, there's no MIDI signal to export. It will have taken it, it will have converted it already. So that has to be off. And save the location the files will save in, and then hit render. So we are done in this program. Let's open up MuseScore. Just go to File and then Open, find the files we just rendered, and open track 1. Looks pretty decent, but it's in the wrong time signature. You'll find that MuseScore does this type of stuff a lot. It will take wrong time signatures. Sometimes it will be in the wrong key. just fix it. And then because we changed that, we have note lines that don't go over bars. So let's clean this up, and we also get rid of the bar on the end. This is something that I personally like to do and is not strictly necessary, but MuseScore selects a piano by default, and since it doesn't have a hurdy-gurdy, I like to change it to a nickel harpa. So when you play it back the file, it sounds somewhat gurdy-like. I also like to select the ranges so I can see whether the sheet music is within my instrument's range, but like I said, it's not needed. Just adding some labels. And it's time for me to add the second harmony. If you're not working with harmonies, then you can skip this step. Press I to open up the instruments menu, and you can add another nickel harpa. I open the MIDI file from track 2, copy everything, go back to the sheet music for track 1 and paste everything into the second nickel harpa. Now we need to clean up those note lines again, add a title, composer, fix the bar spacing, and we're done. Using the template I set up in waveform, it usually takes me about 10 minutes from recording to a clean and finished piece of sheet music. The DigiGurdy really makes this so easy to do. I hope you find this video useful or entertaining, or I don't know how else you made it to the end. Well, okay, bye!